And that is probably one most contested issue about Kurds and Kurdistan in the world. Because all those four countries, main countries, homelands of Kurds, have been denying or trying to prevent any such census of Kurdish population, and to the same effect any other ethnic population. So what we have, some old data for Iraq, we have some data going back to like 50s, 60s, and even these data, I mean, from censuses is quite controversial. For Turkey, we don't have any published data since 1965, but we know officially they have been collecting language, mother language data, and therefore ethnicity data until 85. In Iran, it is the same situation, but the estimations often are based on these early census data. So we do projections as demographers, as population scientists, we do projections. And these projections often show, for example, in Turkey, depending on actually often the political conviction of the person, looking at the numbers, it ranges from sometimes like as low as a few million, couple of millions, and it goes up to 20, 25, and even some people claim it should be at least 30, 35 million. Our estimations based on these early censuses and some later surveys, there are population surveys carried out every 5 years in Turkey and several other countries. According to those estimations, we can guess, we cannot be sure or give any accurate numbers, but the Kurdish population should be between 15, 16% and up to 20, 22% of the total population. So if you consider Turkey as 76 million in total, you are looking at perhaps about 16 million Kurds should be in and around Turkey. But again, it is difficult to say this is Kurds or some mixed ethnicities, because there are also many people speaking multiple languages. So these data, these estimations often based on which language do you speak, or which language is spoken in your family, or which language was spoken in your home when you were a child. So various of questions collecting such information, and we use it as proxy for being Kurdish or non-Kurdish. So same goes for Iraq. In Iraq, obviously now we have Kurdistan regional government, and they do collect their own data. And if we assume all people within Kurdistan regional government territory are Kurds, then we are still looking for something around 5 million. But yet we don't know, because we know there are some Kurds left outside this territory, this region, and also we know some others are inside this territory and who are not Kurdish speakers or not Kurdish. Like there are other smaller minorities. And this is evident was evident in recent elections in Iraqi Kurdistan. So in Iran, obviously since the revolution, we don't have any estimations and any proxy data either to say how many millions of Kurds live in Iran. But overall, I think we can put a figure between around 25 to 30 million. That would be a moderate estimation of Kurds around these four countries, plus the diaspora. Diaspora population should be around a couple of millions, and that is probably one of the most effective component of Kurdish politics in the world. And all these changes, as we spoke today, in terms of developments and interest in Kurdish studies as a field of study, scholarly field of study as well. So this is what we are trying to build and foster with the Kurdish Studies Journal too. Kurdish Studies Journal came out of a network of people who are not necessarily Kurds. Some of them are Kurdish, many of them are Turkish, Iraqi Arabs, and Iranians, Persian people, and English people, American people, and Dutch people. And all those scholars coming from different countries, they do study what has been happening in Kurdistan, what has been happening to Kurds, and how their not only political but also cultural, social, and economic lives evolved across. So we are hoping we are doing a good service to improve studies and understanding on Kurds and Kurdistan around the world. Thank you.
ناوی من ولات زیدان لولیه از رهبری تورا لیکولینن کردی ما به انگلیسی Kurdish Studies Network تورا نتورک که جبو لیکولینا کرد کردستانه
من نام عتايا من لندن اجيم من يكي لبج داربواني ام كونفرنسام كاك ولادي كيلواني كقصي كر بس كان لسر كردي ستاديز يعني لسر خوانو مطالعه كردن لسر مسألة كرد بقشتي وبتهبتيش او كردي كل دروا لهندران اجين بو اما هم بخومن لخومن زياتر تيبقين ناو كردا وهم ويكون مسألة كردو زانياري كاني كهمانا لەگەڵ خەڵکی دەوروبەری خۆمان بیگۆڕینەوە ئەوان زیاتر تێبگەن لە ئێمە.
دیارە ئەمڕۆ ئەو کۆنفرانسەی کە ڕێکخراو بوو لە زانکۆی ریجنت لە لەندەن گرنگێکی باشی هەیە بۆ ئایندەی کوردستان بە تایبەتی کە ئەوەی چەند ساڵە بەهۆی ڕژێمەکانی کە دژایەتی کوردیان کردو و نانهێشتووە کورد بگاتە ئەو ئاستەی کە بتوانێت خوێندنەوەیەکی بۆ خۆی هەبێت. ئەمڕۆ کە خۆشبەخانە کە کورد بەرەو پێشە دەڕوا بە تایبەتی لەو بوارانەدا کە دەبێتە مای دەستکەوتێکی باش بۆ ئایندەی کوردستان کە بتواندرێ ئەو جۆرە کۆنفرانسانە یاخود حکوومەتی هەرێمی کوردستان بە دەم ئەو پرۆژانەوە بێ کە بتوانێ دەستکەوتێکی باشی هەبێ بۆ ئایندەی کوردستان. جگە لەوەش جارێکە باەخێکی گرنگ دەگەێنێ بەڕووی دەرەوە واتە کە کورد بناسرێ یاخود هۆکاری چ بووە کە کورد نەیتوانیوە ئەوەی لە ساڵانی ڕابردوودا بەدەستی بێنێ. مەدەوارین نمونەیان زۆر بێ و دەستپۆشیان لێ دەکەی. سوپاس.
I think today was an important day because we were presenting this new journal on Kurdish studies, and I was saying a few things about how Kurdish studies has gradually become an acceptable academic subject. There was a long time when in universities it was not really much acceptable to study Kurds. They were marginal, and it was also often people feared that Turkey might take offense or Iran might take offense. So universities were a bit reluctant to study Kurds. Now things have changed in the past years, and one of the reasons of the change is that the world has changed. We have now in northern Iraq we have a political entity that is almost a state. We have in Iraq two presidents. We have a president of the Kurdish region who is a Kurd, but there's also a president of Iraq who is a Kurd. I mean, Kurds have become much more visible in Iraq. In Turkey, Kurds have become much more visible, and in Turkey it has become more acceptable to speak about the Kurds. So internationally, I think the Kurds have become a more interesting subject. More people are interested, want to understand things behind the headlines. But this has also had the consequence that studying Kurds, studying their history, studying their culture, archaeology, architecture, Kurdish architecture, studying village life, urban life, the changes of society, studying traumatic events like the genocide, studying the Kurdish movement in its various forms, studying music, literature of the Kurds. These are all things that have become more acceptable, and there is a larger number of European and American people who are interested and who have been doing studies on the Kurds. But very importantly, there is an increasing number of Kurdish people who have done a PhD, usually abroad, in Europe, in the United States, in Australia, in Russia perhaps, and who are doing research on one aspect of Kurdish history or culture or language. The number of people who are active has so much increased that I think it is now very appropriate to have a journal through which the people interested in Kurdish studies communicate with each other. So,
thank you very much, Dr.
Let me congratulate Velat Seydanlıoğlu especially, for his initiative to establish the Kurdish Studies Network, because it's the network that has brought people together from many different countries. At no place there is a large group of people studying the Kurds, but in the world taken together we have an enormous group of people who now communicate through the network and hopefully also through the journal.